It was just after dawn when police body cams captured a father's calm concern for his missing wife and daughters. What the world didn't know yet was that Chris Watts already knew exactly where they were. Shanann Watts was a 34-year-old mother of two from Frederick, Colorado. Described by friends as outgoing, dedicated, and endlessly loving, she poured herself into both her family and her work. She was a thriving health and wellness coach with a strong presence on social media, where she often posted about her life, her children, and her love for her husband, Chris Watts. Chris, her husband of nearly 8 years, worked as an operator for Anadarko Petroleum. He had a more reserved personality but was widely perceived as a quiet, supportive partner and father. Together, the couple had two daughters, Bella, age 4, and Celeste, nicknamed Cece, age 3. The family lived in a 5-bedroom home in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where nothing shocking ever seemed to happen. On August 13, 2018, Shanann was reported missing by her friend and colleague Nicole Atkinson. Shanann had returned from a business trip to Arizona in the early morning hours, and Nicole had dropped her off at home. When Shanann failed to respond to calls and texts later that day and missed the doctor's appointment, concern escalated quickly. By that afternoon, the police were called for a wellness check. Inside the Watts home, nothing seemed out of place, except that Shanann, Bella, and Celeste were nowhere to be found. Her purse, keys, and phone were still inside. Her car was still in the garage, but there was no sign of the children or Shanann. From the outside, the Watts family appeared picture perfect, a beautiful home, healthy children, active lives. But within just days, the illusion would unravel into one of the most shocking family murders in recent American history. In the weeks leading up to August 13, 2018, cracks had begun to form in the Watts family's carefully curated image. Though Chris and Shanann still appeared to be a loving couple on social media, behind closed doors, their relationship was deteriorating, and fast. Shanann had spent much of that summer in North Carolina with their two daughters visiting family. Chris stayed behind in Colorado, citing work obligations. During that 6 week separation, Shanann noticed a change in Chris. He was becoming distant. He wasn't texting or calling like he used to. His responses were short and cold, and when she asked what was wrong, he avoided giving straight answers. Shanann confided in friends and family that she was worried. She feared her marriage was falling apart. She even told a close friend that Chris no longer wanted another child, despite the fact that she was 15 weeks pregnant with their third, a baby boy they had already named Nico. While Shanann was trying to save the marriage, writing heartfelt letters, initiating conversations, trying to plan a counseling session, Chris was keeping a dark secret. He was having an affair. Nicole Kessinger, a co-worker at Anadarko Petroleum, later admitted to police that she had been in a romantic relationship with Chris for over a month. He had told her he was in the process of separating from Shanann and that they were almost divorced. Nicole would later say that she was led to believe Chris was a good man, soft-spoken, polite, and heartbroken over a failed marriage. Chris, on the other hand, was growing increasingly consumed by his double life. He was deleting text messages, hiding photos, and spending money on dinners and hotel rooms while telling Shanann he was working late. He even began working out more and changing his appearance, something Shanann noted during their last days together. During her final trip home from Arizona on the night of August 12th, Shanann was exhausted. She had expressed deep worry about Chris's behavior in text messages to friends, saying he was being cold and detached. In one message, she wrote, "He hasn't touched me all week, kissed me, talked to me except for when I'm trying to figure out what is wrong." She had no idea that Chris's decision had already been made, and that within hours of her return home, the life they had built would come to a horrifying end. From the very beginning, investigators had a strong sense that something wasn't right. Chris Watts' behavior raised red flags almost immediately. During the wellness check on August 13th, body camera footage captured him pacing nervously, avoiding eye contact, and showing little genuine concern. When Shanann's phone was found still in the house, along with her purse, keys, and medication, it deepened suspicions. Detectives noted inconsistencies in Chris's story. He claimed Shanann had come home late, they had talked briefly, and he had left early for work, but security camera footage from a neighbor's home contradicted parts of his account. The footage showed Chris backing his truck into the driveway and loading it for a long time, something he hadn't mentioned. When the neighbor pointed this out, Chris grew visibly nervous and agitated. That same day, the FBI and Colorado Bureau of Investigation (CBI) joined the case. Investigators began combing through the Watts home, collecting data from phones, laptops, and home security systems. Shanann's social media presence provided a clear view into the life she had been living and the stress she had been under in her marriage. Text messages revealed her growing concerns about Chris's emotional distance and her suspicion that he was being unfaithful. Meanwhile, Chris agreed to multiple interviews with law enforcement. He took a polygraph test on August 15th administered by the FBI. The results were clear: he failed. When confronted with the results, Chris broke down, but instead of confessing fully, he initially spun another lie, claiming that Shanann had killed the girls and that he had killed her in a rage after witnessing it. Investigators didn't buy it under mounting pressure. Chris finally confessed to murdering Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. He revealed the location of the bodies at the Anadarko oil site. On August 16, 2018, authorities recovered Shanann's body from a shallow grave. The bodies of Bella and Celeste were found inside two separate 400-barrel crude oil tanks. The recovery process was painstaking and deeply emotional for all involved. Autopsies later confirmed the manner of death. Shanann had been strangled, and the children had been. Public reaction was immediate and intense. The Watts family murders drew national attention, with many struggling to understand how a father could murder his entire family. News outlets, social media, and crime analysts speculated on motives, warning signs, and psychological factors. Nicole Kessinger, Chris's mistress, cooperated with investigators and was never charged with any crime. However, she went into hiding due to the overwhelming public backlash and media attention. Chris was arrested and charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and tampering with a deceased body. The evidence was overwhelming, and his confession sealed it. On November 6, 2018, less than 3 months after the murders, Chris Watts pleaded guilty to all charges as part of a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. The plea was agreed upon after consulting with Shanann's family, who expressed that they did not want to endure the trauma of a prolonged trial or risk the possibility of an execution. They preferred to see Chris spend the rest of his life behind bars. On November 19, 2018, Chris was formally sentenced. He received 5 life sentences, 3 consecutive and 2 concurrent, without the possibility of parole. In addition to the life sentences, he was given 48 years for the unlawful termination of Shanann's pregnancy and 36 years for tampering with the bodies of his wife and daughters. During sentencing, the courtroom was filled with emotion. Shanann's family members spoke through tears, describing the deep and lasting pain of losing not just a daughter and grandchildren, but the overwhelming betrayal by someone they had trusted and welcomed into their lives. The judge called the murders the most inhumane and vicious crime that I have handled out of the thousands of cases that I've seen. Chris was transferred to a maximum security prison out of state for his safety due to the high-profile nature of the case and threats from other inmates. He is currently serving his sentence at the Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. In the aftermath of the case, Shanann's family has worked to preserve her memory and advocate for victims of domestic violence and family annihilation. Shanann's parents, Frank and Sandra Rozuchik, have spoken publicly about their grief and the importance of recognizing warning signs in abusive relationships, even those that are hidden behind carefully curated social media images. The story of the Watts family continues to resonate with the public. Documentaries, interviews, and podcasts have explored not only the crime itself, but the deeper societal issues it exposed. How easily a picture-perfect life can hide dark realities. and how difficult it can be to recognize emotional abuse before it turns dead. There are no unanswered questions in terms of legal justice in this case. Chris Watts confessed, was convicted, and will spend the rest of his life in prison. But the emotional aftermath, especially for those who loved Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and baby Nico, is still unfolding. Thank you for joining us today and listening to this tragic story. The Watts family case reminds us that sometimes the most heartbreaking stories are hidden behind closed doors. If you or someone you know is struggling with domestic issues, please reach out for help. No one deserves to suffer in silence. If you found this video meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories told with respect and care. Until next time, stay safe and take care of each other.